Welcome to this episode of our program, A Daily Debate. As usual, we will be discussing an important topic. Today we'll be focusing or highlighting this very important and significant summit that took place here in Cairo, where leaders from Sudan's 6 neighboring countries met in Cairo for the most high-profile peace talks since the Sudanese conflict erupted in mid-April. The summit was attended by the leaders of Ethiopia, South Sudan, Chad, Eritrea, Central Africa and Libya, in addition to the chiefs of the African Union Commission and the Arab League, and as well as a number of ambassadors from the international community, including the Russian, the EU commissioner, the Russian ambassador, the EU commissioner, and many other European and Arab ambassadors. In the final communique, signed by the President, participants expressed deep concern about the continuation of military operations and the sharp deterioration of the security and humanitarian situation, and called for an immediate ceasefire, a halt of all violation, in order to lead for a permanent solution to the Sudanese crisis, which would really end the suffering of the Sudanese people. In his inaugural speech or addressing the summit, the President has said that the Sudanese crisis affects, or rather reflects, on the whole world and Sudan's neighboring countries in particular, and confirmed that Sudan's neighboring countries are the most understanding and knowledgeable about its complexes, which require to unify their visions and stances to take constant decisions that would really contribute to resolving the crisis. That will be our topic of tonight. Before we delve into our discussion, let me first take here the top stories of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in Cairo on Thursday. The two sides renewed their mutual political will to enhance bilateral ties at the political, economic and cultural levels, emerging from a joint desire aimed at realizing mutual interests, achieving prosperity for the two nations, and actively contributing in attaining peace and stability in the region, in addition to raising the two countries' capabilities to deal with joint challenges. The meeting tackled the conflict in Sudan and boosting relations between Egypt and Ethiopia, as well as means to resume stalled negotiations over Ethiopian dam file. In this respect, they agreed to begin quick negotiations to finalize an agreement among Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan to fill and operate the Ethiopian dam, as well as exerting utmost necessary efforts to reach the agreement within 4 months. Secondly, they agreed that throughout the negotiations period, Ethiopia clarified that during that time, the time of filling the dam in the hydrological year 2023-2024, it would abide by not harming any interests for both Egypt and Sudan regarding the two countries' needs from water. Abiy Ahmed was heading his country's delegation at Sudan's neighboring countries summit, which was held in Cairo. And moving on to our next top story, and on the sideline of the summit for Sudan's neighboring states, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also met with Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki. The President asserted Egypt's keenness on enhancing ties and cooperation with the Eritrean side in different fields. For his part, the Eritrean President said he is looking forward to boost ties with Egypt on all fronts, particularly in light of the successive challenges at the African Horn and the Red Sea regions. He hailed Egypt's stances aiming to achieve regional stability. And before we delve into our discussion, let's first have this quick report and the final communique of the Sudan's neighboring countries summit that took place this morning in Egypt. Right, welcome back, and we're back with His Excellency Ambassador Soaad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good evening again, and
good evening.
Good evening, Your Excellency. We have followed today this very significant, the highest profile peace summit for the neighboring of Sudan today that tackled the crisis in Sudan and means to find a solution for the Sudanese crisis. How did you read the significance of this summit? How did you read the statements of President Sisi, who laid down the Egyptian vision regarding the Sudanese crisis?
As you know, Mona, that there has been many initiatives during the past 2 months, and that is why President Sisi has decided to call for this summit for neighboring countries, because he was keen to formulate a joint vision for Sudan solution to the problem and to the conflict from the neighboring states. Because, as you know, the neighboring countries are suffering from this conflict. And, of course, the economic, political problems are overwhelming, and the bloodshed is continuing in Sudan, and it is affecting all the neighboring countries because of the humanitarian crisis and because of the displacement of all those who have fled the war in Sudan. That is why this summit is very important, because it will establish a mechanism to formulate all the initiatives together to directly involve the parties, the conflicting parties, to negotiate. Of course, the rapid force, the paramilitary, and the Sudan's army are continuing in other parts of Sudan, like in Darfur and Kordofan, and this has caused many civilians to be killed and also displaced. That is why Egypt's initiative is very important in this period to stop the Sudan from descending into chaos and in divisions, and to stop the interference of foreign actors.
Your Excellency, here the President stated clearly that this Sudanese war is really reflecting on the whole world, and particularly the neighboring countries, and that the neighboring countries are most to understand the complexity of this war, and are the ones who can really manage to find real solutions. The President spoke about a number of, or exactly 4 points, starting with a halt or a complete ceasefire to the, or from both sides, allowing for humanitarian, and then step by step towards reaching negotiations that would lead to a permanent solution. From your point of view, how do you view Egypt's role and how do you view Egypt's constant policy towards the issue from the very beginning?
Well, as you know, Egypt has asked many times to stop hostilities and to implement ceasefire and to respect ceasefire immediately, but none of this was respected, even with the different initiatives that had been in place, like for instance the Saudi Arabia initiative, the IGAD initiative. So that is why Egypt has decided to call on this summit, and because it will collect or combine all the initiatives in one initiative, so that the two warring factions will stop immediately. This is one of the calls to stop the escalation and also to commit to an immediate and sustainable ceasefire, and also to start negotiation in order to reach a solution. This is a bid for mediation. This is what Egypt wanted from the very beginning, because, as you know, the relationship between Egypt and Sudan is very deep in history, and it's also the peoples of Sudan and the peoples of Egypt are very close. They have very close ties politically, economically, and culturally, historically. So having Sudan in such a disaster situation is going to affect not only Egypt, not only the neighboring countries, not only the region, but it will affect the whole world, because, as you know, Sudan is producing a lot of resources. Sudan has a lot of resources, and especially agricultural production. And if the war continues, then there will be a crisis in food security. That is why Egypt is very keen on stopping the war immediately, and also to preserve the state without division, and to stop any interference of external parties in the crisis, because Sudan's production of agriculture and of natural resources is very important, not only for neighboring countries but also for the whole region. Its stability and its security is very important. That is why the consequences of the war and the humanitarian disaster is affecting all the countries in the neighbor of Sudan.
Yes, definitely. Your Excellency, Ambassador Soaad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for being with us and for your input here over the phone. Now we go to this report and the statements of the President earlier in the inaugural session of the summit, and we'll come back for more discussion.
President Fattah al-Sisi participated in the inaugural session of Sudan's neighboring countries summit, which kicked off in Cairo on Thursday. Addressing the summit, President al-Sisi said that Egypt exerts its utmost effort to stop bloodshed in the sisterly country. President al-Sisi also highlighted the negative repercussions on security and stability in the region and the world. President al-Sisi said Sudan's neighboring countries are the most understanding and knowledgeable about its complexities, which requires to unify their visions and stances to take consistent decisions that contribute to resolving the crisis. The head of state added that the Sudanese crisis affects the whole world and Sudan's neighboring countries in particular. He also pointed to the deteriorating humanitarian situation and the catastrophic circumstances which need immediate and sustainable cessation of military operations in order to preserve capabilities of Sudanese people and the state institutions. President al-Sisi reiterated Egypt's complete support and solidarity for Sudan till the end of the crisis, as the summit seeks settlement to the current conflict in the country. The summit provides an effective framework to peacefully settle the crisis in coordination with other regional and international tracks. Egypt's hosting of the summit emanates from the keenness of President al-Sisi to formulate a joint vision for Sudan's direct neighboring countries. President al-Sisi is also keen to take steps to resolve the crisis and the bloodshed among Sudanese people and to spare them the repercussions that they face. Meanwhile, African Union Commission Chairperson Moussa Faki said the Sudanese crisis is affecting the security and stability of the region, pointing that a trilateral mechanism composed of the African Union, United Nations and other partners was put to reach a solution. Faki also stressed the necessity of an integral political dialogue to solve the Sudanese crisis, underscoring the importance of the role of neighboring countries in solving the Sudanese crisis. For his part, the Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Ghait also called for stopping all military clashes to protect Sudan's security and unity. Addressing the summit, Abul Ghait also stressed the necessity of keeping Sudanese state institutions without being destroyed. He also stressed on the necessity of preventing any foreign intervention in Sudanese affairs.
Right, welcome back. And I guess that the most important of what came out of today's summit were all concentrated about, or the consensus of all the African leaders on the Egyptian vision, which included an immediate ceasefire for the escalating violence and engaging in serious negotiations aimed at achieving an imminent and lasting ceasefire. Sudanese parties should be facilitating across all the country humanitarian aid and establish safe passage for the delivery in areas in need. The third was that the President proposed launching an inclusive dialogue involving political and civil forces as well as representatives of women and youth for the aim of starting a comprehensive political process that fulfill the ambitions and aspiration of the Sudanese people. The last was the creation of communication mechanism resulting from the conference to develop an executive action plan for achieving a comprehensive solution, plus of course that all leaders agreed the importance of supporting the national institutions of Sudan and at the same time support Sudan achieve peace and stability. And I guess that was the most high-profile summit or meeting up to this minute. Remains to be seen. The Sudanese people have, or the Sudanese government has already thanked Egypt and the participating leaders in the summit, but remains to be seen how will the Sudanese people prioritize the interests of their own country. Many thanks for watching.